morning, Oliver. Good morning, Tarek. Good morning, Suzanne. Here we go. Tuesday, March 31st. Here's what I was looking at this morning. 5 things to know before the market opens. Certain things are pretty obvious. The stock futures are rising. If I go over here, we see a lot of green. Pretty much all the tickers I've got on here are green. I don't even remember what CEG is. I'm going to take that out. Delete. There you go. Don't know why I had that in there. I'll look into it a little bit later. There we go. Trump reportedly willing to end the war with the Strait of Hormuz still closed. Obviously, a lot of going on in the Middle East still. Scary stuff. Hopefully things get settled soon. The first quarter is closing today. Obviously, it's March 31st. It could be very interesting for price action today. Because a lot of larger players need to balance their books at the end of the quarter. So we could see a lot of buying today. Not a prediction, just certain things that I've got in the back of my mind that I'm going to be looking at. Price, this is in the US, over $4 a gallon. We haven't seen this since 2022. Unilever, and I don't really follow this, and Netflix aims to expand NFL slate. I no longer trade Netflix either, so this is not really pertinent to me. Economic calendar, there are numbers coming in that are 3 stars over here. We have the consumer confidence and JOLTS job openings for February coming in at 10 a.m. This could have an impact on the markets. And as far as earnings, we mentioned yesterday that Nike is reporting earnings after the close today, 4:15, if I'm not mistaken. What I'd like to review, and I forgot to review yesterday, the AMD trade from Friday. If anybody's interested in that, I can bring it up. I still have on the trading view, I still have the trade from Friday. It was I took it off of here, but anyway, if anybody's interested. Otherwise, what I was calling yesterday, the lower range, Tesla opening up below R4, it did make its way from R4 to S4 yesterday. So that would have been a massive trade. It is something that I discussed in the morning. I didn't take it for the simple reason that I didn't, and I'll show it. Actually, I can show it right now. I didn't take it for the simple reason that there was no entry. This was a massive 30-minute candle at the open. Let's replay so that we can see the levels at the open yesterday. Let's go back to a 5-minute. And this is what the market looked like once the first 5-minute candle printed. Very large wick indecision candle. I know some traders that would take it short as soon as it got close to R4 with their stop right above R4. Very risky, but the people that trade the Camarilla pivots, they wait for these setups. It is in a lower range. It's opening up just below R4. And then from there, it's, wick down over here. How do you get in here with your stop way up above here? But for the people that do trade the R4 to S4, I should probably go to a higher level at this point. But as you can see, it made it all the way down there. So this trade here would have been a 6.5 R trade. Like I said, there's no real entry here for my style. But it works. I mean, as far as Camarilla pivots are concerned, they often work. So let's go and put in levels. Everything is gapping up this morning. So in pre-market, everything's gapping up. The last time that we saw that, we closed the gap. So that was the gap up from Monday, and came down and closed the gap. Same thing with AMD, gapped up pre-market, came down, closed the gap, fooled around a little bit over here. This is a higher time level or time frame level on AMD. So let's go back to Apple, and I'll continue what it is I'm looking at. Always looking at room to the left. So from pre-market this morning, there was room to the left over here. If you take this impulse, right, we gapped up, but then there was an impulse sell. In other words, a large sell. Even if I go to the 15-minute candle, we see a big fair value gap. So there's a lot of selling over here. That was yesterday, and now we're retracing, right? We're coming back into this area. So what I'm looking at is from this area over here, from where price is right now, we could be rejecting again and closing that gap. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. Otherwise, if it opens above R4 here, it could break out and retest for a move higher. Like I said, there could be a lot of buying in stocks today, being the last day of the quarter. Very similar on every ticker today. I'm going to be looking at room to the left from where price is. There's room, but just going back to yesterday. So it's not ideal. I like room to the left like this, right? When you look, and the market has not been there in quite a while. Right, but if you go over here, yes, there is on a smaller time frame. Once we zoom into the 5-minute, we're going to see that okay, it hasn't been there since yesterday, late morning. So there is some room to the left, but obviously not as ideal as something like this. So that's where I'm looking at. I did set an alert already on AMD, right near the higher time frame level that I've put on here as well. It is in a lower range. So opening up below R3 could be resistance. It could hit up here and resist and possibly move down to S3. We also have a higher time frame level down here. Amazon, similar situation. However, it is opening up above R4. The pivots are very narrow. We can tell that they're narrow over here. And what that means is that we can trade outside of the zone of the fours. So this is a typical narrow day here. We could be making new highs, or it could resist where it resisted before. Right, it broke down from this level. Now it's coming back up and retesting. Amazon is something I've got on my short list for a possible rejection over here. I do not like shorting when it opens up or it is above R6. So at this point, it would have to really show a lot of selling over here for the retracement back to R4. Google is very similar to Amazon as far as opening up above R6. Actually, it's not open yet, but right now it's above R6. It could be a short over here, but I've put a level here because if it comes back down here, I want to see what it does. Do we start buying over here? Because this is 50% of the gap up, if I'm not mistaken. We started buying over. Let's put the cams. Sorry, the FIDs over here. So from here to the top, and we don't know where the top is yet. Currently, it's where I've put my fib over here. But if it comes back down to R4, then that's a 50% retracement from the beginning over here. But if I put it from the open at 4 a.m., 50% retracement is much higher, obviously. It's just below R6. So I'll be looking in this area over here for a potential long if we're actually buying. Otherwise, if it puts in a kangaroo tail above over here, it could be a sell. But like I said, I do not like shorting above R6. I don't trade the Camarilla levels exclusively. I know the system very well, so I like having the levels on my screen. And there are certain parts of the Camarilla system, or yeah, you can call it a system, that I like paying attention to. right? We are in a lower range over here. So being the fact that we're opening up above R4 and even above R6 means that theoretically the buyers are in control. So you don't really want to short this stock. Meta is in a higher range because from the comparison of the last 2 days, from Friday to Monday, we close a little bit higher. So that's where that comes from. And very similar situation. We are opening up above R6. This could be a strong level of resistance. Let's put a level here. But again, do you short all the way up here, or are the buyers actually in control and realizing that 520 on a stock that was just recently at 750 might be on sale? So the buyers might have stepped in over here, and people might be getting in for a potential long. So that's what I'm looking at on Meta. I don't really analyze Meta too much because I do not like trading it anymore. Microsoft, I've put a level over here from pre-market high. It was yesterday's high, so we're going to see on DOS here, there's going to be a bunch of lines. It's basically neutral, right? From the close on Friday to the close on Monday, we're going sideways here. If it rejects above here, we can tell that there's a lot of room to the left. I don't have to put an arrow over here. Where's my arrow? I don't know. But we can see that there's a lot of room to the left over here. So if it comes up here and rejects, and it has to be a strong rejection, a strong wick to the top, and then we can tell that the sellers are in control, then this might be a potential short. Again, R4 can be a level of resistance and support. So depending what happens, where we take a short here, or I might take a short, my first target would definitely be R4, and I would have to get 3R out of that if it's possible. Nvidia gapping up again. Nvidia was in this higher time frame zone. We dipped down after hours yesterday, but then gapped up quite a bit. I'd be looking at the possibility of a pullback and possibly buying R4 for the continuation higher, because when we're in a lower range and we open above R4, R4 can become support. Again, I'm going to be looking candle by candle on the 5-minute time frame. Tesla, I just did the replay on this. From the R4 to S4 trade yesterday, found support after hours over here and then gapped up and is opening up in this range over here. From where price is, there's a lot of room to the left to yesterday's, sorry, that's because we're on the 5-minute. So the room to the left is, again, just going to yesterday midday. So there's not a lot of room to the left. When we go on to the 5-minute, then it looks like there's more room because there are more candles there. 2 minutes to the open. For those of you who are trading the open, good luck. There's a 30-minute fair value gap in this area over here. So this could be resistance over here, but between R3 and R4 is often very choppy. So I'm not really liking much on Tesla right now. Qs, we would have to get back into this area over here to get a lot of room to the left. However, this was strong resistance yesterday, and I did take this trade yesterday. It was a beautiful trade on MNQ. I can talk about it a little bit later. I had it on here. The MNQ 50% rejection was a very, very good trade. Gave 2 possible entries on here, and we can see the 2 30-minute wicks over here. I took the first one, and I'll show it on MNQ a little bit later on. I took it in the Top Step account. Room to the left from where price is right now. There's definitely room to the left. This was prior selling range. So I definitely want to see what happens here. Hopefully it doesn't happen too quickly in the first few minutes. SPY, similar. SPY, are we live right now? Yeah. So similar area as far as room to the left is concerned from where price is. There is a lot of room to the left. This was yesterday's high. We wicked up and then could not find buyers in this area. Just for the fun of it, let's put a level in here. So this level was resistance on Monday. Will it be resistance again on Tuesday? Definitely interesting area to be looking at. And that's it for the Qs and SPY. I will look at the futures once the market is open, and it is right now. If you guys want to see any other tickers, or if you're in any positions or seeing anything, please don't hesitate to let me know. So my alert on Amazon is going off right now. This is very interesting price action over here. It's, again, very early in the session. I would have in the past taken this short if it breaks the low over here, but I don't like trading the first 5 minutes. So we'll see what happens if we can chop around here and then show some real selling. This might be a selling area. However, like I said, on TradingView, we can see the levels. It is above our 6. Right, we've got some strong candles over here. This was a level of selling. Right, we found a lot of sellers over here on Friday. Now we're retesting this area here. So it's just a very interesting area. What will happen over here? And the reason that's there, it broke through it. There is the breakout. I just saw, there you go, I'll take those out. And then this level became support. And then once we lost this, now we're coming back into it. So that's what's interesting about this right now on Amazon. Curious to see what the futures are doing. These fibs from yesterday are no longer important. This is an interesting area on MNQ. It was, it formed a 15-minute fair value gap and a 30-minute fair value gap here. This is the trade from yesterday here. This is where we rejected yesterday, these 2 wicks right here. If I zoom into the 5-minute and go back to that, right, we can tell that this was the 50% retracement. Let's put the fibs over here. So from where we started selling, so the impulse to where we started buying, right down here, look at how it went up right into the golden zone and then started selling. Right, retracing, and then it did it again, and even the second time was even better because of the actual 5-minute candle that printed. Right, this is a strong rejection candle, even though it printed green, went up to the 61.8, and then a short from there with a tight stop would have been incredibly profitable. I'm doing it a little bit differently on this secondary combine. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but it was a 1-to-1, this one, and it got to target in like 2 minutes, I think. So, like I said, I'm just trying something different as I'm getting back into the futures. I'm going to be trying a few different things. So I've got 2 combines going right now. One that I aim 3-to-1, and one secondary one that I am aiming 1-to-1. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. It's part of my, what I call live testing instead of back testing. Right, I've got a little bit of skin in the game, a little bit by meaning it's $100 for a combine for me to test out something and possibly pass an evaluation to then get back into futures while using Top Step's account money. right? So it's just I just figured it would be a good way to get back into it and then to share what it is I'm planning, what it is I'm doing on here as well. So that candle, which looked like it was a lot of selling with almost 5 minutes in, is becoming an indecision candle. Right? On the shorter time frame on Amazon, on the 2 minute, seems very bullish. Yeah. Looking at Amazon on 2 minute time frame, we are putting in what seems to be a very bullish candle over here above R6. Now, do you long above R6? You know, it's obviously made quite the move already. So Amazon up 2.2%. RVol is decent on pretty much everything except for Apple. I thought Apple would move a little bit today because supposedly Warren Buffett was talking about it, saying that he would buy more, not necessarily in this market. So, I mean, we might not see a lot of buyers just because of that comment, but he was saying that he sold too quickly. All right, so the Qs put in this very bullish candle, but then the following candle has no wick to the top. So it's like it printed and started going down. So a very bullish candle followed by what is in the makings to being a very bearish candle. In other words, we don't know who's in control. Similar candle in Nvidia. Right, very bullish, followed by rapid selling. Similar candles in SPY. You know, that's why it's better for my style. It's better to wait. Oh God, I just read what Avi posted there. The fact that this is yesterday high as well as pre-market high, these two dotted lines here are very important. I definitely want to see what price does once we hit these levels, if we hit these levels. We could reject. We could reject these levels again, or we could just break out, and then it would be the retest that I'd look at taking. But it would have to be a strong breakout. Right? If it just starts slowly making new highs above here, then I wouldn't consider it as a long. And for the short, it's the same thing. It needs to go up and be slammed down and show obvious rejection. Let's go back to this. Just save my desktop now that I got rid of this. Uh, rid of those. Oops. That's what I want on screen. Still looking at Amazon here. Amazon is in that interesting zone right now. Put it on here. Right, it's in this area now. Seems to be very strong. Right, very difficult to short a strong stock like this above R6. At this point, if it were to come down and retest this level here, it could be potential break and retest. And even if you were to short here, there's possibly a very strong support level at 204.50. Oil has been moving up, hold back last night. Getting rid of this. Right, I had this level on because we could sell that there was an impulse sell over here, right up until we started buying over here. But once it started making its way, it went beyond the 61.8. Well, in that case, I no longer need these fibs on my screen. Right? I want to see what else we've got. So on the other side here, we started seeing 5 a.m. We started seeing a lot of buying. So if we were to put some fibs from the impulse buy up here, up to where we hit resistance, it pulled into the 50. Right, let's go into the 5-minute. Right, pulled into the 50. But then, as far as the 5-minute is concerned, did not put in a really strong 5-minute candle. When it chops inside the zone over here, and the zone is not, it loses its value. That's the way that I've always traded the fibs. Once it's in this area, it's not really respecting it. However, if we look at yesterday's price action on the fib, so we started selling here. Let's redraw it. All right, so yesterday on the 5-minute, this is what I was looking at 11 o'clock yesterday morning. Actually, I wasn't looking at it. I put a level here. I'll show you exactly what I did. So I drew the fib because we had an impulse sell from the open, right? On the 5-minute here, we put in this large bearish candle and broke the low of that bearish candle. And then I started looking over here, but then it made a new low. And it made a new low over here and then started buying. But at this point, I set a level above 50. So I want, and actually I put it right above the wick over here. I wanted to see, does it take out this wick and then reject? So I was actually doing something else in the house. I wasn't even at the computer. I got an alert once this came out. So I got to my computer and this candle was printing over here. I zoomed into the 2-minute. Let's go over here and let's just see. Let's replay. Right over here. So this is where I started looking at it. Sorry for all the movement there on the screen. This is where I started looking at it, not doing anything. What I want to see is it going to reject this area here? So move to the 2-minute. It put in this large wick candle that went beyond the 61.8, and then it was very obvious that it was selling. On a secondary combine that I just started yesterday morning, I just figured, you know what, I'm just going to have 2 right now. I figured, you know what, I'm going to take a 1-to-1 shot on this. And so I calculated with my stop being above the wick, which is a good stop. This is a good 2-minute candle here. It's showing a lot of selling. So I entered on the break of this low. There it goes. and got some slippage actually because it was pretty violent. You can tell just by the candle, it happened very quickly. And I hit target on the following candle. So this was a 1-to-1. Again, just trying this. I said it yesterday that I've never done 1-to-1. But for passing the combine, it seems to make sense. Seems to. I'm new to prop firms. Full disclosure, I haven't done the 1-to-1, but I just figured I would give it a try. In retrospect, while I was journaling yesterday, I started documenting this new combine and realized, you know what, I'm going to see A, does it work? And then B, did it actually go to 3? And it did. Right? It did, but it retraced. But where my stop was, it was okay. See how it retraced? That's where the stop was. We'll put a level. And then that's where the second entry was, right over here. Right? It went back into this area, put in a bearish candle or a red candle, and then on the 2-minute, put another 2-minute fair value gap here. Right? And once we retest this 2-minute fair value gap, that's another entry right there. So let's put the tool right there. You can be a little bit more aggressive on this one, but if you don't want to be, you can put it there and aim for 3. Let's put this at 3-to-1, which is right around there. That's what I'm looking at right there. So if you would use this second entry into the zone as an entry and short it just below the 50, there you go. It hit again. Right. So anyway, hopefully that that helps. That's mainly the strategy I'm planning on using with futures for now. But there are other moving parts. I want there to be room to the left. I definitely want to see who's in control. It was going down, therefore you expect it to continue to go down. Right? A lot of people call that a reload. Right? When big players get into positions. Let's go back here. When big players get into positions in here, they can't sell, 10,000 units. So they need to get in with smaller size, because if they get in too big, then it's just their entries are just going to push the price down, and then they don't get favorable prices. But once we get back into this area, that's the reload, right? So the big shorters over here, big sellers, once they get back into this area and they see that we're selling again, they continue adding to their positions. And then again over here, right? So that's the way I see it. I'm going to remove this, go back to the 5, and let's see what price is doing right now. Right? It's above this level that we rejected yesterday. So right now, it definitely seems like the buyers are in control. Potential for rejection up here. Right? So if you're long, this should be a target. Right? We're likely to go to this level, 23,538 approximately. Right? So those that are long, this is definitely, potentially a target. I was going to say definitely a potential target. And then what does it do over here? At this point, I consider this a breakout. It's very short time frame that it retested for the continuation here. JOLTS 10 a.m. Thank you, Oliver, for the reminder. 11 minutes before the job numbers come out. Will be interesting to see if they have an impact. And they absolutely could. I mean, inflation could be creeping higher. Inflation higher, jobs numbers being possibly not good could mean higher interest rates. And if that's the case, we could definitely see more selling in the market. MES, get rid of these. Chicago PMI lower than forecast. Market seems to like that. Looking at Qs and SPY. With numbers coming in 10 minutes, I'm absolutely going to be waiting 10 minutes to see what the jobs numbers tell us. Meta seems to be having difficulty with these wicks over here. I definitely would not trust these wicks to sell. It definitely looks like we're accumulating and we could be waiting for the breakout higher. Definitely a lot of big numbers in here. Large percentage gains. 4%, yeah, almost everything at least 1% higher. And then we've got Lunar is something that I like to look at. That's 7%. It's one of those stocks that moves a lot, can have big moves. I don't trade it right now, but just something I'm interested in more for the longer term. And this is all quantum computing ETFs that I find interesting as well. Pfizer, 52-week high. If anybody trades PFE, so like I said, another 4 minutes to see what the news gives us at 10 a.m. So I'll be back in 2 minutes. I just need to step away. Okay, 1 minute until the news. They had an alert on AMD from a while ago, above this high here. Interesting to see what happens at 10. Let's see what happens with these candles here. Do we reject above 200 on AMD? Do we even react to these numbers? So jobs openings come in very close to the forecast. Again, I'm not one to analyze these numbers, number by number. I just want to see how does the market react to it. Right now we're punching higher. Whenever there's news that is supposed to move the market, I consider it as an opening range. So I pretend that it's 9:30 right now. In other words, I wait 5 minutes. If something happens right now, if there's a big spike, I want to wait at least 5 minutes, sometimes a little bit more, just to see how things are digested. Buy is very close to R6. Right over here. It has punched through this area over here. Right, this was an area of possible resistance. Broke out above it. This is a 5-minute time frame. So at 9:45, whatever news that was, that the market seemed to like. At this point, it could be a retest of this level here around the 640.50. Or we could wick up and find a lot of sellers around R6. But then you have possible support right over here. But that is a $2 move. So we'll see what happens. Amazon is above R6. I would not short this. Yeah, very, very choppy, boring price action. Might be something like yesterday to wait till 11 a.m. just until something is a little bit more obvious. Okay. AMD seems to have rejected this level. It is at a level that I could short. This is an indecision candle. On the 2-minute time frame, it did put in a selling candle right there, right? And this one as well. If it were to come back to 250, 60, 70 area, around this area, and reject again, on a micro level, might put in a double top. Right? It did come from the bottom, but then it chopped around here. Seems to be rejecting over here. Scalpers might have shorted this on the smaller time frame. We are seeing pullback on pretty much everything. I'm setting an alert on MES. Here, I'll share what I'm looking at here on MES. So MES, let's go to a 5-minute time frame. I'll put these levels back on. So from this morning, this is where we started buying over here, right? We see that there's some buying pullback, continuation to the buying. So if I were to set a level here at S3, go all the way up here, we can tell the 50 was touched a few times. What became the 50, right? This was not the 50 before. If I put this here, we didn't make it to the 50. We just started buying, continuing buying. But once we go up here and set this as our level, we can tell that this level was touched a few times. So I have set, I don't know where it is, but I thought I had set an alert. I want to see now, later on, doesn't matter how long it takes, do we come and retest this golden zone? So I don't want to put it right at the 50. I want to put it just above the 50. So that we retrace and come and test this. That's what I want to see on MES. If it were to happen very quickly, then I would be very hesitant in going long. But that's the idea here, is that the buyers are in control. We're chopping around. Does it come down and retrace this and then find more buyers? Because we did find a lot of buyers in this area. I saw a lot of buying right over here on MNQ. Now we are selling. So I want to see over here, does it come and retest this level? If anybody draws them differently, please don't hesitate to let me know. And we pulled back. I think I prefer this level here. Right, this is where we really started seeing some impulse buying. And now we're seeing selling. So what happens if price comes back to this level? That's where I want to start paying attention. Anything going on in gold? Big rejection candle at the top here in gold. Let me take this off. Take that off. So this is where we started finding buyers. Rejected up here. As far as gold is concerned, I want to see what it does if and when it retraces to this level, right above the 50. I want to see what will it do in here. And oil, I'm not incredibly interested in at the moment. It just seems to be chopping sideways. I think everybody's waiting on news. This on 5. This I already had a level this morning. This is where we started buying. This is where we pulled back. But now we've made it up to this high. So on the Russell, I want to see what does it do if it comes back down to this area. So as far as futures are concerned, I've got alerts set on MNQ, MES, gold, nothing on oil, and M2K. As far as SPY is concerned, if it comes and dips down to this 640 area here, I would not be surprised to see buying. Right? This would be a nice pullback to this area here. This is where it broke out. Right? We can tell with this massive candle here, this was possibly on news, right? Was it at 9:45? Yeah. So on news, we punched up, chopping, making new lows. When and if it gets back down to this area is where I would zoom in and see, are the buyers stepping back in here? Those that were missed with this move here, do we start buying or do we continue buying at this level? So that would be a break, retest. There's definitely room to the left. We've taken out liquidity over here. All right, so SPY, I'll put the 641 calls on my screen. And I want to see what they do if we make it down here. Could happen after 10:30. That's what I would be looking at. As far as tomorrow is concerned, I'll share what the futures did, if anything, and SPY at this level here. Qs is similar over here. I just don't like that Qs has yesterday's high above it, and it seems to be chopping around this level. With SPY, yesterday's high and pre-market high were both punched through, if that makes sense. All right, we're seeing similar price action in Tesla right now, right? Broke through a level, right? This level right here was pre-market high, broke through it, came down, retested it pretty much to the penny. And then if you zoom in, 2-minute candle or the 1 minute, you want to see, do we get a bullish candle? Well, the first bullish candle is really, sorry, let's make this bigger. This is a 2-minute. I'll zoom into the 1 minute in a minute. So this was a breakout, right? Choppy, come down. It came down and retested. Now, that's not a buy right away. I want to see a bullish candle. Well, the first truly bullish candle is this one. These are green, but that's an indecision candle. That's just a bigger indecision candle. This one, we're really starting to see that this is bullish. It made a new high, but it pulled back a tiny bit. And so on the 1 minute, actually, let me do this on TradingView, then I can actually use my tools. Let's go to the 2. Let's get rid of these levels here. So that was the breakout right here. That's the retest. It's, in fact, it's right at R4. We're seeing these 2-minute candles right here. Not necessarily a buy signal yet. The fact that there's a few 2-minute fair value gaps here as resistance. If it were to come down here and show a lot of buying again, I would still consider this as a support level. I'm not looking at Tesla. Sorry. Very similar, though. There you go. There's Tesla. As far as the candles are concerned, they were very similar, and I didn't even notice that I wasn't on there. So this was the level of the breakout here. Right? We broke out, retested this level here, which was pre-market high. Zoom in on the 1 minute. Did it give an entry on the 1 minute? Not really. Not yet. Right? Bullish candle and the break of the high of that bullish candle. That's what I want to see. And it's above R4 as well. You know what? I might take this in my equities account. What is there? Yeah, as far as room to the left, the market was there yesterday, and we were selling there yesterday. So, right in this area here, it was resistance. We couldn't make new highs above here, and we haven't gone above this yet. So I don't trust it as a long yet. Just because this was resistance yesterday. Right? Hopefully that makes sense. Right? We haven't punched above this yet. So not ideal. SPY, don't like that it didn't come back down low enough. The calls are not doing much, even though SPY is going up. You would assume that the 641 calls would really start punching up. Now they are, because we've made a new high. Right, we broke the previous 5-minute high here. A little bit of a move on SPY. Not ideal. Did not come and retest the level. I don't trust it yet for long. Meta just going sideways. Apple, same. AMD making new highs. Amazon, I might consider this a double top. I think I said that earlier. If it comes and rejects this level a second time, it might be a short. $10 until 10:30. I think Avi said that he was going to try to get on today. Try to make it online after 10:30. And then Brian is on at 1. If anybody wants to come on the mic and or share their screen, please don't hesitate. I'm okay sharing my DOS screen over here. If there's something you'd prefer to see, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat if you don't want to talk on the mic. See how SPY could be coming down here and retesting the 640 or that area. 640, 640, 50, 640. Let's put SPY on the tape here. And just as a quick glance, it looks more bearish than bullish. Those 641 calls, even though they spiked up a tiny bit, they're coming down, which is normal. Alert on Microsoft. Microsoft, I put an alert earlier just to see, okay, this was the breakout. Do we come and retest this area for a possible continuation? That's what I'm looking at on Microsoft. I'll bring it up on TradingView like this. Right, I also put the fibs over here. So now that it's touched the 50 over here, I'm going to zoom in and see what it does over here. It's not necessarily automatically along. It's a very tight golden zone range. I'd have to see some buying coming in. Right? It could touch the 6180, which is also pre-market high. If we zoom into the 1 minute, if it puts in a bullish 1 minute candle and then breaks the high of that bullish 1 minute candle, it might be a buy. It's above R4. 366. I am going to look at volume on this. $366.23 area. $65. I've got the 5-minute screen on my on this platform here. On DOS, I mean. I want to see what happens at 366.70. $366.71. No, that's quite the wick. Yeah, on the entry on the 1 or 2 minute might have been better just for RVR purposes. This is very promising. If this candle in the next 30 seconds can close green and break a new high. But the reason I won't take it is because my stop would have to be below over here. Unless you add into your position, go in with smaller size, and then once it starts making new high, you can add to your position. That's a possibility. It's pulling back now. So no trades for me. Another 4 minutes, and I'm going to be logging off. Not crazy about the price action right now. It's just going sideways, even though our vol is pretty high on most things. We're not seeing very big moves. This second pullback into Microsoft could be interesting if we find some buyers at 365.50 area. Oh, yeah. So before I log off, here's what I'm looking at. Possible double top rejection on Amazon. I'm unlikely to take it because I don't like shorting above R6. But that if it came and rejected the 207 again here and started selling, it could absolutely come back down to the 205.50 area as a first target. Nothing on Meta, Microsoft, the breakout, and retest could still happen. But it seems to be bearish right now. I would have to see a lot of buying coming into this. There's definitely a lot of stops. Anybody that went long on this retest here, their stops would be below the wick, 365.43 area, which we're approaching. If they were to take those stops out and then start buying, it might be a long. But then if we reject and we start selling over here, I obviously wouldn't take it as a long. I wouldn't take it as a short either because there's no room to the left. Right? At this point, if we're having difficulty making new highs, if it slowly starts punching up, it might be a double top eventually, which would mean a short from this area, and a short from that area is at R6 or below R6, which I could short below R6. Yeah, other than that, I've got my alerts on the futures. Not seeing much happening right now. Hopefully you guys took some profitable trades. Please don't hesitate to share those so that I can share them with others if you so desire. And it is 10:30, so I'm going to be logging off. I'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, Brian is supposed to be on at 1. And Avi said that he was going to try to log in after me. So have a great day, everyone. Hopefully you're keeping it green. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks, gang. Have a great day.